Bruh.
3, 6, and 1? Are you serious? Is this real life right now? I mean, I'm done defending this guy, man. Are you serious? I can't defend him anymore. It's time to say RIP to Mr. Marvin Lewis. I'm done. What's up, Cincinnati? How y'all feeling, Who They Nation? Feeling kind of angry? I am too. Had to take a little break off just to digest this whole season right now. And to me, the solution is simple. It's time to say goodbye to Mr. Marvin Lewis. So in this episode, it's going to be a special episode. I'm going to go in. We're going to talk about Marvin Lewis. We're going to talk about the current state of the Bengals. We should talk about what should happen going forward. We're going to talk about that. We're going to touch on some of these past couple of games. And then we're going to evaluate this season as a whole. So, let me tell you why I'm done with Marvin. Number one, you kept Mike Nugent. Are you serious? Mike Nugent?
What?
Number two, you picked Cedric Pearman over WJ3 when our defense is ranked in the 20s.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
All right. You keep punting the ball in the opponent's territory within the 40-yard line. That's soft. No heart. No emotion. This team is too good not to be winning. 3, 6, and 1?
What?
You got a coaching problem. Okay, back to the list. You let Cedric Ogbuye just get Andy Dalton completely destroyed. Are you serious? Man, I guess everything is all good, right? You let Andre Smith walk, even when he could have came back for the cheat. Are you serious? Come on, man. 3, 6, and 1? You had a bye week. You had 2 weeks to prepare, and you still made mistakes. I'm done, man. I'm not scared of the 90s anymore. So on today's episode, we're going to call this the funeral. Y'all know who the funeral's for. Let's get into it, Who They Nation. This is New Stripe City. It's your boy, Ace. Let's get it started. Welcome to New Stripe City, a podcast for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, and today is episode 26 entitled The Funeral. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about our 3, 6, and 1 Bengals. Okay? Why they're 3, 6, and 1, why we're at this point where we are this season, and why Marvin Lewis is still our head coach. Okay? So, the first thing that I'm going to get into is that a lot of people in our fan base are lukewarm, or before, this season, you had people on one side and people on the other side. I was a pro Marvin Lewis guy. I'll tell you why. I watched the Bengals. I started watching the Bengals in the late 90s, early 2000s, because that was around the age that I was able to comprehend what was going on and become a real fan. So I was here for the years of Achilles Smith. I was here for the years of Gus Frerotte. I remember when John Kitna was a good thing that happened to this franchise. I saw some of the 90s. I was familiar with Jeff Blake, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys like I was an avid football fan at 5 to 6 years old. That's just not gonna fly. Okay? So I endured and earned my stripes. Those years, the early 2000s weren't good either. The late 90s, early 2000s, those weren't good years either. I remember. So Marvin Lewis definitely changed the culture in Cincinnati, and I'm forever grateful to him for that. He was able to get Mike Brown to bend on some of his things that he was normally used to. He was able to bring in a new facility for our players. He was able to create a winning environment, and he was able to raise the expectations. Okay, so for some of the newer Bengals fans, during the 90s, the Bengals, in a nutshell, were basically what the Browns are right now. We couldn't find a quarterback. There were several holes in every position. We overpaid the wrong players. We underperformed. I actually witnessed the very first win in Paul Brown Stadium, and I didn't even know it. But I was at that game, the Corey Dillon game. But the entire reputation of this franchise has been turned around by Marvin Lewis. Okay? Now, I'm at the point now where I've kind of reached my boiling point. Because I look at the team that's on the field. I look at these guys that are playing. And this doesn't look like a roster that says 3-6-1. Okay? And when you look at some of the decisions that have been made in some of these ball games that we've lost by a couple points here, a couple points there, it all comes down to coaching mistakes. Okay, 2 weeks ago, let's start there. We're playing a team. We have the momentum of the game for the most part of the first half. We start to lose the momentum at the end. We have a chance to answer this team with a drive of our own. What do? We let the clock run out. Why? Momentum is what wins football games. Why? Our team comes out lackadaisical, like we don't have the timeouts left, like we don't have anything drawn up. We basically are crawling up into the fetal position and giving up to a team that isn't as talented as us. With the Redskins, okay? We had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. 2 weeks. And Kirk Cousins comes out and has a field day. A field day. Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback, but he is by no means Peyton Manning in his prime, and that's what he looked like. We continue to play Cedric Ogbuye. The guy's given up between pressures and sacks 35 plus. Are you serious? Are you serious? We're going to continue to play him? Okay, and in the same game, Andy gets destroyed, and then the guy can barely even play, barely even practice the next week because he's getting his head smashed in. Ridiculous. Okay. So we're playing against the Buffalo Bills, right? For some reason, Mike Nugent has missed, 6 of the 8 last field goal attempts that he's had. For some reason, he's still on the team. I don't get it. I really don't get it. You're really sitting here telling me that a guy that's costing you games shouldn't be cut from the team. what standard are you setting for the rest of the locker room? Because to me, it seems like the standard is you can go out and be a starter for the Cincinnati Bengals and make all kind of mistakes, just like Cedric Ogbuehi, just like Mike Nugent, just like Russell Bodine, just like Sean Williams, and you can still have your starting spot in the NFL. Now, I'm not an NFL coach. Never claimed to be. Never said I was an expert. But when I benchmark and look at other coaches around the league, let's start at the top. Let's start with a guy like Bill Belichick, right? Bill Belichick is a person that tolerates zero mistakes. If Cedric Ogbuehi played for the Patriots, even as a first-round pick, the guy might be cut by now. He might be sitting on a couch somewhere messing with a guy like Belichick, okay? And that's what he does. If you look at Belichick in terms of preparation, there's no one else that's more prepared than this guy. You never know what they expect from him. You can expect exactly and predict exactly what Marvin Lewis is going to do. Okay, we're in the opponent's territory with a drive where we're, potentially we have the momentum on our side and we're within their 40-yard line. Okay, we're going to punt it. Are you serious? Is your offense that good? Is your defense that good? No, they're not. They're both not that good. To the point where you can say, okay, I've got Tom Brady or I've got Andrew Luck in our instant offense. Andy Dalton is a great quarterback. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think it's more so Ken Zampese's scheme. But if you haven't noticed, this offense is not surefire by any means. It's almost an epitome of a split personality offense where 1 minute and one drive they look great. The next drive, they don't know. And so you can almost predict what he's going to do given any situation. Then he loves to blow timeouts. Why? Why are we blowing timeouts? The clock management issue, it's back again. I find it very funny that it comes back the year after Hugh leaves. People want to talk about what Hugh did as an offensive coordinator. I loved it. But this is what he did. He had cojones. He had huevos. And on 4th and inches in the opponent's territory, he wasn't afraid to go for it. Okay? We're not talking about 4th and 10. We're not talking about even 4th and 6. We're talking about 4th and inches. And you can't go for it. You can't manage the clock right because Hugh must have been managing that as well. He must have also been managing the timeouts because we're back to this crazy play. Okay? So I don't understand how the strategy is not taking many risks, but you can risk a timeout whenever you want to. What was the play this past weekend against the Bills? We call a timeout just to not convert. That we would have needed later. Okay. And I find it very hard how we put this strong emphasis. We recently, by the way, like I said in the intro, we recently decided to keep Cedric Pierman over William Jackson III, which that makes sense, right? Right? Losing Giovanni Bernard. Cedric Pierman is that good and special teams matters that much that we pick him over a corner, even though Drake Kirkpatrick is hurt right now. And, we've needed some help at corner this entire year. Kirk Cousins just passed for 400, almost half a thousand yards on us. But special teams matter, right? Because to Marvin Lewis, special teams matter. But a kicker that's missed 6 out of the 8 last field goals somehow gets a pass. Somehow it was the placeholder's fault? Are you sick? Come on, man. I can't make this up. And the thing is, we're in a season where we've been 3-6-1. This is like the worst that we've been since 2010. So, I don't see it getting better. I don't see this team winning a championship. I don't see this team moving upward. I feel like we're at a standstill. We know what we're going to get with Marvin Lewis, okay? At best, we're going to get one playoff win at best. That's a Marvin Lewis Super Bowl, is one playoff win. And we still haven't gotten that. Okay? And to me, I used to think that it was bad luck. I used to think in the early years it was Andy Dalton's play. But now, it makes perfect sense. It's the coaching. It's the coaching, man. There's no other explanation for it. And I'm not just talking about Marvin solely, but the coaching staff, period. And I feel like at this rate, I know that we're only 1.5 games out of first place of the AFC North. But to me, this team is trending downward. I mean, you look at the last game, this team is out of control. They seem to have given up on Marvin already. I don't know if he realizes it, but it seems like the team is giving up on you, fam. And, games that we're supposed to win, we can't win anymore. So, in my opinion, I think that it's time to look into a new direction. I think this is a year that we're going to end up picking in the top 10. I'm just being real, guys. I mean, I just don't see it from this team. It looks drastically different than it did from a year ago. You're talking about a team that won 12 games. And I know we lost Marvin Jones, and I know we lost Mohamed Sanu, and I know we lost Andre Smith, but some of those moves were our own fault. Marvin Jones, we couldn't control that. He was going to be gone regardless. Okay? I wasn't really big on Mohamed Sanu either. But Andre Smith, this is my thing. I've also been an Andre Smith fan, right? And a lot of people might have a strange look on their face, but not anymore, because you see how bad it could really be with Cedric. But Andre Smith, low-key, the past 3 or 4 years, Andre Smith was one of the top right tackles in the league. He wasn't a slouch. And to me, the only reason that they really let go of Andre Smith is because, just like the first time when he was a free agent, they thought that he was going to be hung up on the money. Okay. Now, it's cool to say money and all, but you got to have guys that can actually play out there that are proven. Okay? And Cedric wasn't proven, but you guys are giving all of this praise to him. Like, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, swallow your pride, and just admit that you missed, man. You missed on the pick. Russell Bodine, a miss. How many times are you going to throw him out there so he can fumble a snap? Or it's just ridiculous, man. Just admit that you missed and move on. Cut your losses. Okay? So, back to Andre, excuse me. One of the best right tackles in the league. You let him go, okay? He gets out on the market. He doesn't get the dollars that he's looking for. So then you can sign the guy on the sheet. So instead of having an insurance plan, they decide that they want to go all in on Ced because he's so amazing. He has this whole high cap ceiling. And the grass isn't greener, my friend. And it seems like he's affecting the entire line, because I refuse to believe that these other guys are that horrible. I mean, the guy just watch him on film. He lets guys run right through. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. And you put him in clutch moments of the game like you're playing with fire, sir. Like, your experiment is costing us wins. Your experiment is getting Andy Dalton killed, and you don't realize it. How? How is this possible? Wow. And then we have this whole thing about, not letting guys play. They're not ready. Well, stop starting average players then and expecting decent results. You have to take some kind of risk, man. Especially when you have guys out there that aren't really doing anything. They're not doing anything. Okay? And you hold these standards for these guys that make mistakes constantly, and you keep them in games. That can't continue. It can't continue. And we're just looking at the season, and it's really I'm just baffled. I didn't expect 12 wins. I didn't expect that. To be real with you, I expected 9-7. 10-6. You know, 9-7 at the worst, and we're 3-6 and 1. Are you serious, man? Oh man, we just, to me, in the words of the great Chad Johnson, who's probably a better kicker than Mike Nugent, this is cancer, and we need chemo. Okay, so I think that the Bengals need to move on. I think that it's time. I think that it's time for a change. We know the ceiling with Marvin Lewis. It's time for a change. You know how many head coaches would jump at the opportunity to coach a team this good? To take over the reins of a team this good? You don't think that another coach could come in here and win a Super Bowl? Or at least get to an AFC divisional playoff game with this talent? Let's run down the list. Okay. You've got A.J. Green. You've got Andy Dalton. You've got two good running backs in Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill. Okay? You've got the fullback Hewitt, H-back, who they barely play, but they finally realized, we paid this guy and he's pretty good. Let's play him. You've got a guy in Andrew Whitworth who may or may not be here next year. You're going to let Kevin Zeitler walk. Why? I have no idea, but Kevin Zeitler should have been signed. What are you doing? To me, what's going to happen with that situation is they'll let Zeitler walk and they'll re-sign Bodine. Oh, my God. Matt Millen, great. But you've got weapons, man. Tyler Eifert. Come on, man. Look at this defense. You give any coach in the NFL, not any coach, I'm not going to say any coach because you got guys out there like Chip Kelly and stuff, so not any coach, but you give a decent coach this team, I guarantee you at least 9-7 and 10-6. I don't see this team doing horrible. I don't see it going back to the 90s. And for those people that like to harp on the 90s, you didn't have Geno Atkins in the 90s, bruh. You didn't have Vontaze Burfict in the 90s, bro. You didn't have A.J. Green. You didn't have Andy Dalton. You didn't have the offensive or defensive line that we have right now. Okay? They're underperforming, and it's due to coaching. Okay? The schemes are wrong. The clock management is wrong. The attitude is wrong. Everything is wrong. This team mirrors Marvin Lewis. So I'm going to throw some suggestions out there. A lot of people think that Josh McDaniels is the number one candidate, right? Okay. I can see why people would possibly want to bring in Josh McDaniels. I'm not too high on him. I'm not against him either. Okay. Now I'm going to throw one out there, which you guys are going to say, that's not realistic or that's probably not going to happen. But I'm going to throw Jim Harbaugh out there. So Jim Harbaugh, as we know, used to coach 49ers, went to Michigan. But do you really think that Jim Harbaugh wouldn't do a better job than Marvin Lewis? Because I feel like he would be a perfect fit, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, he has that attitude that every player loves and every coach admires in a head coach. They'll go to war with this guy. It's like 4 or 5 of the 49ers retired after this guy was let go. Okay? He's got the mental fortitude. He's a great planner. He's a player's coach. He's from Ohio. Okay? He got to a Super Bowl. What was it, his second year? Second and third? The 49ers went to being straight trash when the guy left. Right? But he's coaching at Michigan and they're paying him so much. Look, I don't care, my dude. There's 32 gigs in the NFL, okay? Beggars can't be choosers, man. You got to get what you can get. And to be able to take over a team like the Bengals versus a team like the Browns or a team like the Rams, you got to jump at the opportunity, man. I'm just saying. So I think Jim Harbaugh would bode a recipe of success for this team. It's my personal thoughts. Of course, there are other guys out there like Vance Joseph. You got other candidates out there like the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, Jim Schwartz. You know, we saw what he kind of did in Detroit. I don't know how good he would really be. You got Kyle Shanahan out there, but another hot word in the jungle, it has been for years, as a Marvin replacement, is of course John Gruden. Now, I would like to see what John Gruden could do for us. I think that he would be pretty decent, but it seems like every year there's a Gruden rumor for a head coaching job. Now, when I look at this situation, I think about the possibilities of this actually happening. Okay, so Mike Brown is a very loyal owner. We all know that. But to me, how loyal is he? If you're keeping Marvin Lewis and only extending him for 1 year, is it really because Marvin Lewis costs less and you know what you're going to get? You know that you're going to get 9 to 12 wins. You know that you're going to get a playoff game. You know that you're going to be able to compete, right? But if he's so loyal to Marvin, why does Marvin only get 1 year extensions? Okay. All right. But this is the thing. This is the dilemma that I feel that Mike Brown is going to be facing. You have to pick between your loyalty to Marvin Lewis, which is easier to do in the past when you're making the playoffs. All right. It's easier when you had things like Andy Dalton getting hurt and you miss and drop a couple games here or there. Things happen in that playoff game. But it's different when you're 3-6-1. Okay, and your fan base is turning on Marvin. I think we're at the point of no return in terms of the fan base. We're fed up. We're fed up with it, man. We know what we're going to get. We know how the story ends. And I think that he's going to have a decision on his hands. Because I don't see cats renewing their season tickets after this year, man. If you keep Marvin Lewis, you might as well get hit in those pockets, fam. Because there's people burning Nugent jerseys and all kind of stuff, booing that we haven't heard in a long time. So if Mike Brown is smart, which I think he is, he'll go into a different direction. So there's only a couple guys that I think that he'll actually really consider replacing Marvin Lewis for, or firing Marvin Lewis for one of these guys. One of them is Jim Harbaugh, okay? Jim Harbaugh is an Ohio guy. He has a big name. He's a guy that resonates with the fans, gives the fan base faith. We would feel well and good in his hands if he decides to entertain NFL offers. We'd have some stiff competition from the Packers, possibly, if they make a coaching change. Of course, Michigan. But I think that he would jump at the chance to jump back into the NFL. Urban Meyer is another guy. He's a decorated college coach, but he hasn't had his chance in the NFL. If he goes on to win a second national championship with Ohio State, I believe that would give him between 4 or 5 national championships. He's done all he's needed to do in the college ranks. Now it's time to move to the NFL. Josh McDaniels. The only reason I don't feel like this is as likely is because Mike Brown doesn't have a tremendous amount of respect for Josh McDaniels like that. Now, he may admire some of the things that the Patriots do, but I think that's a little bit different. Okay? And John Gruden. John Gruden has star appeal. He's a guy that's a big name that Mike, in my opinion, has been trying to lure to Cincinnati for years. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that the Bengals need to make a coaching change. If they can somehow get Hugh Jackson back, which I don't know how likely it is. I think if the Browns go 0-16, he could be the sacrificial lamb. But we'll see. Can you really keep a coach after going 0-16? Who knows? But I also think Vance Joseph has a very high possibility of coming back. But to me, man, I just really like to start fresh and brand new. I'm not tired of the 90s anymore. It's time for us to get over that. This team is good, man. And what's holding us back is coaching. So with that being said, it's still going to be who they all day, every day, and especially on Sunday. Stay tuned. You guys enjoy the holidays. eat some turkey. Relax, man. Relax, because Marvin Lewis will definitely get your blood pressure up. So get some of that mac and cheese, get some of that stuffing, and enjoy your holiday weekend, man. Hopefully we'll enjoy ours if we can get past this next game against Baltimore. I'm out.